Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hope you've had a good week so far. Hope you had a wonderful week. Make sure you like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Oh, look at that. The camera. I forgot I left my fan. I forget StreamYard shows you everything behind me. You see my little fan there. All right. Let's just scooch. Let's just scooch on over. There we go. All right. Yeah, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. If you're new, if you haven't subscribed, for the ASN folks, for people coming on over from Arkansas Sports Network, when just a heads up, most lives are multi-streamed here on YouTube and on ASN Facebook. But when you use StreamYard, which is good software to use if you're or I say software, it's a good website to use if you bring on a guest like I do with Courtney Mims. We've had Mason Choate. Obviously, we've got the one and only QB Spotlight, Mr. Stephen Hamner coming on. But you can't stream also, at least not that I've figured out, you can't also stream over to ASN. So we will have to download this episode and then post the full video over on ASN Facebook. So, yeah, all right. Well, shout out to sponsors. You can see their logos on the screen here. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. Direct Service Overhead also offers same-day, I already said same-day services. Sorry, emergency service, 24/7, 365 days a year. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667 or click their link below and see what they can do for you. Maybe you've got something going on with your garage. You keep putting it off. Listen, I did for far too long, and I'm glad that that Travis, the DSO, was able to come help me out, and it's been great ever since with my awesome new modern thick garage door. So shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Insurance Max, our other sponsor, offering business, personal, life and health insurance, retirement. They shop the best rates for you. They cover all four corners of our great state of Arkansas. Click a link, see if they can save you some money or provide you with better service than who you're working with now. What's it going to hurt? Support local Arkansas businesses. All right. So this will be a call-in show, and I know that this is not a normal streaming time. This is what I call death row for live audiences. It's just not. I mean, you're at work. Maybe you're catching this on your lunch break, or you're driving home from work. So I do appreciate you guys that are here now. I had thought about making this a Patreon live because I knew the timing was going to be a little rough for some people to be up this early. Unless you're watching Chuck and Bo show, they're killing it. They're doing a great job. They're absolutely killing it over there. What's up, Ty? What's going on, July? What's going on, man? Curtis Johnson says a quarterback competition. LOL. We would have to lose the next two games in Talon. Really bad for him to get benched. Yeah, I thought it was a provoking question because it is something you guys keep asking me about. Now, that's why I titled it the way that I titled it, because Talon Green, his passing numbers have been abysmal. They've not been good. They've been really bad. And we got to remember who his coordinator is. And we've already seen him get benched for cramps. I want you to see that I'm using that for cramps. I think it was a let's settle down. I don't know that it was necessarily a warning to him or anything like that. But it certainly was enough that I believe that Petrino had seen enough, wanted to bring Talon Green out for a series, get him to calm down and just get settled in, get ready, get a little bit more used to the environment. That's not a good, and if that is the case, you can't tell me that if this continues in the passing game, we know he's a hell of a runner. And if you don't choose to trim the fat, like I suggested on Monday, if you haven't watched the Monday show, go listen to it. I think I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, by the way. But if you don't trim the fat, which is more the passing side of the offense that requires him to just sit in the pocket and throw, if you don't trim some of that out, which I don't think Bobby will, then eventually we could, again, if this continues, like someone suggested in chat, if this continues, we might have a quarterback battle. And I think that's a possibility, although I think it's a long shot at the moment. But I want to get, I know where Stephen Hamner is on this, but I want him to, talk with you guys about it and share his thoughts here. He also, if you don't know, you're living under a rock, but QB Spotlight, he's killing it. He's crushing it. He's posted some Arkansas content lately. Go check him out. Go support him. He is a good friend of the show. So yeah. All right. July says hurricane outside our doors, but I'll be damned if I miss a call-in show. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah. Just a call-in show though, July. That's it. And you're just here for the drama. You're just here for the drama. Is that what it is? I have you on my TV at work. I'm giving you free advertising. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Yeah. All right. Without further ado, we're going to bring him on. This is the one and only Stephen Hamner of QB Spotlight. How you doing, man?
My guy, what's up, dude?
Man, I'm just enjoying life,
Yeah.
Doing what I do.
Yeah, drink that Mountain Dew. Is that Mountain Dew you're drinking?
So I'm back on my Crystal Light kick. I have a Ninja Thirst machine.
Wow.
Yeah, so carbonated water, and then I mix in a little Crystal Light, and this is grape. It's not bad, and it's fitting because it is the Purple Thunder cup that you could get from Circle K for a brief time. Ironic, but it's not Mountain Dew.
Is it like a caffeine drink or what? Like
it's like, yeah, I think it's got a little caffeine in it, but it's no sugar.
Okay, there you go.
I'm trying my best with cutting out or limiting sugar. I've got a Monster in my little fridge here.
Yeah,
it's the tea that's got like low sugar, but every once in a while you got to have a little hit.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, man, I'm happy you're spending a little bit of time with us this morning. And by the way, for anyone who's, if you're curious, yes, I'm still going to do a Thursday night live tonight, where I'm going to talk. We're going to talk more about A&M, and I know Steven and I know Steven has some thoughts on that, and we're going to get started in just a minute. I want to let you guys know this is a call-in live show. I'm going to share the link. If you have a question that listen, I'm the type of guy I'm better at like asking verbally, putting my sentence together verbally than I am typing sometimes. So if you just want to call in, you want to straighten out a question for us, feel free to do that. I'm going to share this in Discord as well if I haven't already. Oh, I already did. Never mind. So feel free to call in if you guys have any questions or comments or anything. Maybe you just want to be like, man, you two are studs. Yeah. And Stephen Hamner is awesome. If you want to do that, you can also do that.
That'd be a first time I heard that. So please go ahead and do that.
My wife gets upset because I do the shades,
Yeah.
with the hair. I do it when I Marco Polo you guys.
You got a good look though, man. I don't have much going for me, so.
Yeah, except I'm fat, Steven. And yeah. All right. So I got to have something going for me. Thank God I smell good, because you can't be fat, ugly, and stink at the same time.
You're being too harsh on yourself, Ty. Come on, dude.
Self-deprecation, man. All right. Well, I'm sure we're getting somebody mad because we're not getting right to the point.
Yep.
So let's get into it. Let's start. I want to know. Let me start this out. We're gonna begin with Mathew Sluka.
I like it. Yep.
UNLV 3-0. Just beat a decent, although I think KU. I mean, they had a couple of decent years. I don't know, but they did beat them on the road, knocking on the door of top 25 rank, heading into conference play. And now Mathew Sluka, UNLV starting quarterback, says deuces. Sluka says he received a verbal commitment from UNLV from offensive coordinator Brennan Marion last winter for $100,000. Now, Matt Sluka's father, Bob Sluka, said Odom and Sluka's agent spoke on September 19th. According to an ESPN report, Odom refused to uphold the agreement, instead offering $3,000 for relocation costs and asserting that the offer wasn't valid because it didn't come from Odom. Sluka's camp contends that they never went to Odom seeking more money, only what they were promised up front. So, obviously, we're starting here.
Yep.
We for Hog fans who don't care about this stuff, listen, we're going to get into the Arkansas stuff too as well. But I'm glad we have Steven on to kind of help us, because this could be the first domino, Steven.
It is the first domino. Yeah, it's already dominoes have already happened after this.
We've already seen two other players now.
Yep. And like the Sluka stuff, I don't like. There's so many stories out there right now. Like, did UNLV do this? Did they say that? Did Sluka do this? Did he say that? So we don't really know yet. But my biggest takeaway with this is like, get the contract in writing. Like that. You don't need a lawyer to tell you that. I don't think, right? But get whatever's promised to you in writing. The Cover 3 podcast, who I've mentioned before, actually did a great job yesterday. They had one of the hosts talk to Sluka's brother, I think, and
oh wow,
they had a really good segment yesterday talking about Sluka. Like the first 15 minutes of the show, if you want to go listen to that podcast, was actually pretty interesting. But I think like being in this world with agent friends, and we deal with players, like this is not the first time that a player hasn't gotten what's promised. It won't be the last. It's just it's a funky thing because different agents are involved, and depending on the agent may depend on how much percentage the agent gets from this contract, or depending on the player may depend how hard the agent fights. I mean, there's so many different like pathways you could really run down. For Sluka, for example, getting $100K, he's not a very good thrower. He's not a great quarterback. He's a good athlete. He's done really well with his legs. Getting $100K would be on the higher end for a quarterback like Sluka. So again, sorry, go ahead, Ty.
No, I was going to say, I from what I understand, the going rate for an SEC quarterback, and obviously Sluka is, I don't think he's an SEC quarterback. Like you said, he looks to me like a group of 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
But the going rate is it's well above that.
Well, and like the G5 rate, it's going to be like $50K lower than that for a good quarterback, if they're even getting that. Like a lot of people in the G5 ranks, unless you're an absolute stud, like on the recruiting visits, they don't even bring up NIL per se, as contrary to like popular belief. Now with the transfer portal, sure, you're trying to get guys in, but at these lower level schools, they just don't have that type of money. But yeah, interest, like without giving too much, and we can talk more off air, private chat, and let people know. I have some friends on the coaching staff at UNLV who they're fans of QB Spotlight, I'll say. So I'm interested to kind of get some more details from them once this kind of passes over, if you will. So we'll see, man. It's one of those things that like more's coming from it. It's a mess right now, but like, I don't have a side per se because we don't know what really happened. But I think number one is like if you're a kid and you got a verbal agreement, or if you're going to work, like you're not going to work unless you have a contract signed. So
yeah, well, so someone brings up a good point. From what I understand, this is from Jeremy Gray. From what I understand, NIL contracts have to be verbal before signing. An actual contract cannot happen until after they've already signed with the school. Okay, but how long has he been signed to UNLV though? I think that's Hamner's point.
Yeah, and the thing is too with that, like there's, without going into too much detail, there's ways to get around that. Like these agents are smart. A lot of these agents, like Equity Sports, they represent a lot of hiring guys. I don't know this agent personally or who he all represents, but Equity Sports, the agency itself, represents high-end guys. We've heard a lot of stories of NIL stories and negotiations and not just from like pro contracts. And so there's ways to get around what was just mentioned. And you can make agreements in writing per se to get around. Now stuff you can't say, like what was brought up in the Cover 3 podcast yesterday, which was interesting, was like, hey, if you win the starting job, you get this amount of money. Like they brought that up as maybe being like that would be a no-go per se. But again, it's a mess. But
Hog Homer says Carpenter, the running back, said it had nothing to do with NIL though.
I saw that looked like playing time to me, but
yeah, I think it was a playing time thing. But I do believe that who was it? The USC defensive lineman.
Oh yeah,
was that
Bear Alexander? I think that's USC just has I think better defensive linemen now. Yeah. Like Lincoln Riley said yesterday, they had like a third. He played a third of the snaps, and then last year he was playing a lot more than what he's playing this year. But it's USC, like he was saying, like it's USC. Like we're supposed to be really good. We're getting good players back in, so it's supposed to be hard to play here.
Well, so there will be more dominant. This will have a ripple effect. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that's just the way it works. When one player, it's just like, you know what this reminds me of? I don't remember who the first player was to do it. I want to say it was an LSU player when they opted out of a bowl game.
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was unheard of, and now it's commonplace. Sure.
Yep.
Or the NIL and the portal have, certainly been a major part of that, but it's a ripple effect, as all things are. When one person does it. Yeah. You were talking about Sluka's numbers, or his passing. He's 21 of 48, 318 yards, 43% pass completion ratio. That is putrid. Of course, we know too, game planning and all that, and players around him matter. The personnel. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. However, he is their leading rusher. 39 carries, 253 yards with a touchdown.
Yeah, and like you said, they beat Kansas on the road. They beat U of H on the road, which U of H is not a good team by any means, but still a Big 12 opponent for a UNLV team. So it just sucks all around. Like I don't want to fault the kid or the school. We don't know what's going on. It's a PR kind of battle right now, I feel like. But like these conversations happen. Like if you get around agents and they'll tell you stories, and this stuff happens on a regular basis. So
yeah. We do have a caller on.
Awesome.
Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Man, first of all, you guys are studs, and you guys are both good looking. So
thank you, Jeremy.
I just wanted to say first things first. No, in all seriousness, I'm being serious. You guys are good at what you do. Ty, I always love it when you have Steven on, man. You guys have great insight for layman people like me. So I appreciate it, man. I don't really have much to add. I was just, calling in to say hi, but I do have a question for you guys. Great quarterback insight on the UNLV stuff. I mean, from my perspective, like I don't have inside sources or anything, so it's kind of like a he said, she said type of deal until we have people like you on kind of breaking it down, because you hear the quarterback come out and say, what he said. Well, they didn't live up to their end of the stick of what they offered me. So it's like, from my perspective, it makes sense. But I know the coaches really can't speak on it from my understanding. So it's like they're probably going to come out eventually and try to correct the situation. So then it's like, well, I'm just kind of up in the air about it. So I appreciate you guys bringing this. But I do have a question, and this is kind of off subject, but I know I'm sure you guys have heard like the potential Pac-12 realignment, getting some of I think it was the UNLVs, Utah States, Boise State, some of those teams that are traditionally G5 going to put the Pac-12 logo on their jerseys. From a college football playoff perspective, do the automatic bids go from the Power 4, it's like ACC, Big 12, SEC, Big 10, and include the Pac-12 like as a 5 auto bid college football playoff? Or since it's kind of like, well, these are G5 schools, do they kind of just get left out to I don't know, or is it automatic qualifier or whatever? Your guys' thoughts on that. I guess if these G5 schools join the Pac-12, does the winner of that conference get an auto bid, albeit like they're really G5 schools, if that makes sense?
So this is actually a really good question. If I'm understanding it correctly, with the caliber of schools that are trying to join the Pac-12, this is what's funny about this. Our Tusk Talk Patreon dynasty, this is exactly what we did. We took the Pac-12 and we just made a whole bunch of G5 schools join the Pac-12 conference. But when you get these small schools, we've seen what's happened at like with the Big 12. You lost Texas and Oklahoma, but you added BYU, Utah, and whatever, UCF. Do the schools themselves, and Steven, I'm kind of with Jeremy. I wonder if you have any insight on this or what you think. The credibility of the programs should matter and reflect on the conference when it comes to who gets bid into what. Because I'm sorry, I don't view the Big 12. I don't think there is such thing as P5 anymore, or the Power 5. I think we're really down to two, the SEC and the Big 10, and then everybody else. Not discouraging all the other conferences and the other teams, but I think that is the reality of the situation. So does that kind of, with the Pac-12 trying to bring on these group of 5 schools, does that hurt their credibility in getting into the playoffs? Is that kind of what you're asking, Jeremy? Am I?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
You nailed it, Ty. Yeah, because I've just been thinking about that. Like, I mean, right now, those schools don't have an auto bid, but if they put that logo on their jersey and it's the, quote unquote, Ty, I'm kind of with you. Like, I wouldn't see it as a P5 again, just because, I mean, like, let's say Utah State gets hot one year and they get an auto bid, or let's say one of those teams go 8-4, but they do really good in conference, win their conference championship. But then you say have like an SEC team who is 10-2, their 2 losses being to Georgia and Alabama, but they don't win their conference. Like and let's say that team, for this sake, just have fun, say it's Arkansas, although it's probably not going to happen. Let's say it's Arkansas, like, would that team get in over Arkansas? Like, yeah. So that's my question, Ty.
That's a good question. I would say they. I'm not a big fan of the automatic qualifier.
No, I think the Pac-12 now makes the G5 the G6, and so out of the G6 you get one representative. That's. I mean, I'm like 99.9% sure that's how it'll work.
Yeah, because the teams, like, the credibility of the teams matter, and that's a reflection on the conference overall. Like, to me, if you don't have, like, again, going back to the Big 12, who's their perennial powerhouse programs and how many of those do they have? Okay, and I think that does matter when you're talking about the top end of your conference. They don't have Oklahoma and Texas anymore. They're a conference full of mid teams. Nothing against Utah and even Kansas State and Oklahoma State, but I just think that, I'm not saying they should lose their playoff bid. I'm not saying that, but then you look at the Pac-12, who's really just trying to become the new Mountain West or whatever. Yeah, you could slap a whole new logo on your jersey. That doesn't change the reflection of your conference. So, I mean, that's just my thought on it.
Yeah, I got nothing to add. Yep.
Okay, last thing then. I'm going down to Arlington this weekend, Ty and Steven. Looking forward to it. My brother watches the show with we watch the show all the time. He actually texted me and said, hey, tell him to say hi because he's listening to the show. So shout out to my brother. We're making the trip down this weekend. My prediction may be a little optimistic, but hey, I'm taking the Hogs 27-24. I don't know if Kyle Ramsey makes the game-winning field goal or misses it. If history repeats itself, it probably hits the top of the upright and bounces back, defining the laws of physics, i.e. Cam Little in 2022. That's Arkansas's luck right there. But fellas, I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate you guys' good work and keep it up.
Appreciate you, man. Shout out to the McCollums, Justin and Jeremy. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, we're gonna get to A&M in a minute, but if Sam's record in these 3-point games is any indication of what's to come on Saturday, and it does come to a 3-point ball game, I'd have a hard time picking Arkansas. I mean, he just doesn't have a good record in those type of games.
Yeah, no, I agree. The record, his record as a coach in general, one, then coach in close games, and then just Arkansas's record against A&M the past, 10, 11, 12, however many years kind of goes. I am on the optimistic side as well. I know we'll get into it a little bit, but it all hinges off on our guy Taylon Green, which we'll get into, I know, at some point. So,
oh yeah, we're getting there. I think we've kind of summed up the Sluka stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
I was looking at his PFF number, so for anyone who's like, I wonder if he should go to I wonder how attractive he is in the portal. Yeah, his numbers aren't super duper great. His clean pocket passing percentage is 45.5%. when blitzed, he falls to about 50%, which actually isn't bad under blitz. Those aren't bad numbers. Out of play action, he's 56%. Not exactly horrible numbers, but he's a fantastic athlete. So I do think he should probably stick to group of 5. This is the question I have for you though. And I want to ask this because this does kind of affect Arkansas, or it could affect Arkansas. Does this reflect well on, I shouldn't say well, how does this reflect on everybody involved? Sluka, Odom, UNLV, the agents involved. How do you think this reflects on them when we kind of look back?
I don't think it's a good look at all on anyone. It's just like a messy, murky look right now. As of what we have right now, in a few weeks or a few days, if like proof comes out or more stuff comes out, then how it looks for certain parties may change. But right now, it's just kind of like a messy look. But at the same time, UNLV has a really good receiver who is probably getting paid a good amount of NIL, and he hasn't complained, and he's probably getting money. I'm just, maybe he's not, but
Ricky White, right?
Yeah. And so like, there's so many, like, what do the players think? Like, I think more information will come out, but as right now, it's just kind of a messy look. So
Odom has been, I don't know that Sam's going to get fired this year. This A&M game is big for that reason because, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but especially tonight, I've got a lot of things to say about this game tonight. But Odom has been mentioned as a possible replacement. In fact, there are people who swear up and down it's already kind of a done deal if something happens to Pittman. Now, those are people with their inside sources. So yeah, if this kind of bounces back that everything's true about Odom, backing out the way that the Slukas claim, it's not a good look on Odom.
Yep.
We already addressed the domino effect. Oh, and would you, and I don't know, would you encourage schools to kind of stay away from this situation, from Sluka? How would you look at this if you're an AD and your head coach might offer Sluka?
Man, yeah, it's like it depends on, like, if your offense is like perfect for a Sluka type quarterback, then sure, maybe. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be great. And something else that was brought up yesterday, without going down to the rabbit hole, is like, was someone tampering with Sluka? Was someone saying, "Hey, sit out and we'll give you $200K next year"? That was a rumor.
Yeah.
I would say no. Like, who would do that based off his play so far? I know he's done good on the ground, but like, I would say no to that rumor being true.
Okay.
That's just my take, but yeah, if you want to get your hands dirty, sure, dive in and try to take him. But yeah, it's just a mess, man. So
we are doing a call-in XP bonus. Jeremy will receive his $15K. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. 1, 2, 3. Jeremy McCollum, congrats, my friend. You got your 15,000 XP in Discord. Congrats. We have another caller, and then we're going to move into the Arkansas stuff. So you guys just hang tight. Here we go. Mac, what's going on, man?
Not much. Well, I got a question about the Arkansas-Texas A&M game.
Okay.
So mostly for Steven, how do you think the chances are for Arkansas compared if Wegman plays or if Marcel Reed plays?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. And that's something, like, as of yesterday, they said they're hopeful Wegman will be available. That's the last thing I've seen yesterday. So I don't know what that means. If he's available, they're still going to start Reed. I think the biggest factor there is Reed's ability as a runner and Reed's ability to use his legs. Now, what Arkansas does well in defense is they haven't got after the quarterback very well yet, right? Maybe this changes, but they've forced a lot of turnovers. Thankfully to the Auburn, or thanks to the Auburn quarterbacks. And so from a young quarterback who hasn't seen a ton of different disguises and schemes, maybe that bodes well for Arkansas's defense if Reed plays, right? Can you force an interception? Can you have a turnover from Marcel Reed? Now, at the caveat with that is, if the OC for A&M just says, "Hey, Reed, like, just dump it off. We're not going to force anything. It's a one read. If the read's not there, you just take off and run." Now, if Wegman plays, there may be a little bit difference as far as attacking, push the ball downfield. But Arkansas has done a good job of not giving up any big plays. I think Arkansas's defense has given up like 2 completions this year where the ball is thrown 20 yards or more. So I'm just trying to keep everything in front, let the quarterback make a mistake, and tell your quarterback not to make make a mistake. So I don't know if that really answers the question. I don't know if there's a higher ceiling or floor for each quarterback. I think each quarterback for A&M, Wigman or Reed, will have a different style or different approach to how they attack the defense. But I think Arkansas's defense kind of plays it the exact same, with the exception maybe you put a spy on Reed.
No, yet I answered it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good question. Good question. That's interesting. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but that's something I'm keeping track of, like who's going to start for the Aggies at quarterback.
Well, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it were Wigman, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't look very good in his first two games. In fact, he looked awful, but that was against Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's defense, yeah.
And their secondary right now, it's ranked like top 20, I think, in the country in terms of passing yards allowed. I've watched a little bit of A&M, kind of went back and watched his first game, and I watched a little bit of their second game, what I could find. I don't know that I even the more I hear you speak on it, it's going to be fascinating. I'll say that. Yeah. Whoever ends up getting the nod, because it is, and they've said, the players said they're prepping for both quarterbacks. Someone had said that. I haven't actually heard them say that. I haven't finished I only got about 5 minutes into the player interview from the other day, but apparently one of them did say that they are prepping for both quarterbacks. Boy, it's tough to do install for two quarterbacks in a week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of my concerns.
Like, I don't know if either quarterback is good enough to. I don't know. Like Reed did well against Florida, but Florida's defense is atrocious. And then Reed was missing throws against Bowling Green, like open receivers. So, and Wigman has shown stuff in the past, like glimpses. So yeah, it's up. And I think Arkansas's defense. I don't think the A&M quarterback play is the key to victory for either team, though.
It's going to be the run game, 110%. Yeah. It's the run game, because they can run the football. They can run the ball as well as anybody.
100%. Yep.
And this is the thing with Arkansas, is that so far they've done really well against the run. I think they're top 15 in the country in rushing yards allowed, and that's after playing Barry Sanders 2.0, or I'm sorry, the running back at Oklahoma State. Yeah. Everyone told me was a for sure Heisman. They completely stopped that guy. They just played against Hunter, and I kind of think that's a game plan issue. I don't know why they didn't give Hunter the ball more. I thought he could have had a little bit more success, but for the most part, they absolutely contained Auburn.
Yep.
Even though Auburn did outgain Arkansas in offense, but they did contain and prevent Auburn from getting any kind of handle on offense. So that's going to be the question for A&M is, one, it does matter who the quarterback is, because one's going to have an impact either in the passing game or the other's going to have an impact in the running game. But yeah, it's going to come down to this is going to be a quick game, I feel like, really. I think you're going to have the fewest turnovers for either team this year in this game, because it's going to be a lot of running the football. I know Arkansas's put the ball on the ground a little bit, but I feel like they're going to tighten that up. The other side of this is also, this has been a crazy game. It's been a crazy game. It's gone into overtime multiple times. It's come down to the final two drives. It's come down to final drives. Who knows what happens? But I do think that this is going to be I think it's going to be a fast game, because it's going to be a whole lot of running. Yep. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. Yep. If there's not a lot of turnovers, then this game shouldn't be high scoring. Now, there could be turnovers, though.
There could be. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like this is going to be a game that we expect a lot of turnovers. I don't think there will be. Now, I will say, if you've watched Taylor Green run the ball, the guy drives me crazy. You ever watch how he holds on to the ball when he runs?
100%.
It drives me nuts, man. And it's the exact same stuff Matt Jones used to do. Yeah. He'd hold on to the ball with one hand and just kind of run down the field. Every once in a while, you'll see him tuck it. And he won't flip sides. Like, if you're running to the left and you're running on the sidelines, you need to flip that ball to the left.
Yep.
He doesn't do it. And it drives me crazy. But I think they get that under. And that's why I think, too, they're not going to have as many turnovers, knock on wood, because this is going to be such a quick game, because there's going to be so much running from, I think, both teams. That's going to be the game plan this week, is to find a way to crack open the run. Who knows? It is Petrino, after all. Let's I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of the point of this video, the other point besides the Sluka stuff.
Yeah.
Now with 4 games played and some time to kind of reflect and absorb Green's play so far at Arkansas, what's your updated analysis on the Arkansas quarterback?
Yeah.
We did, and I already mentioned that we saw him set out. We've been given a reason that it was cramps. I'm not completely buying that. But do you see this becoming a situation where we could have a quarterback battle down the road? Not now, but down the road.
Yeah. Definitely could be. I mean, I wouldn't rule out anything. I don't think as of right now, like you're sitting 3-1 and you probably should be 4-0. So even with like, if you're a 1-3, then yeah, maybe you're hearing that talk. And I get it from the fans, and we have people that we know that think Singleton should be the guy, but like, the saying is that, you know, the backup quarterback is the favorite player by fans until he starts playing. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen him throw in practice. You've seen him throw in practice. Like, you can compare the two. You've been at practice a lot to see him throw. The coaches have a lot of maybe not end game takeaways. I know he played well against UAPB, but so what, right? Like, they have a lot of takeaways from practice that they're seeing. So when it comes to Taylor Green, a competition could happen, but when I look at Green and the analysis 4 games in, and we've talked about this, he's almost like a home run hitter who strikes out a lot. Like, he goes 0 for 20, then hits 2 bombs, right? So he could have a drive that struggles. Like, you go 3 and out 3 times, or have 3 like head scratching plays, but he may give you 3 or 4 huge plays per game that all lead to touchdowns that give you 28 points. And so it's like a roller coaster ride, but you've scored enough points to win. Now, is that sustainable to beat good teams? No. But that's like the analysis so far of Green. Like, you want him to improve in a lot of areas. Obviously, you don't want him to stare down his receivers. Both picks he threw last week, like, his eyes didn't move from his receivers. It's almost like if that one read isn't there, he is either going to force it or try to scramble and go off when maybe he doesn't need to. So it's getting comfortable in the pocket. It is not staring down your receivers and being more aware in the pocket. As far as like his athletic ability and his ability for big plays, like, that's off the charts. But the flash plays have to be consistent.
How would you remedy this? Because my video, or my live on Monday, and I already talked about it before you hopped on, before you joined the call, but I said, trim the fat of the playbook. I'm not saying forever. I'm not saying for the entire year, but maybe you shrink the offense and focus on Green's strengths as a quarterback. Which is, I think, moving the pocket, getting him out of the pocket, more, dialed up RPOs with either him or one of the backs, Jackson preferably, keeping the ball, whatever. And I say preferably, I mean between the running backs that are available, Jackson's been very, very, very good. Little RPO bubble screens, short intermediate throws, and just get him out in the open one way or another. How would you remedy this?
Man, I think, like I said it earlier this week talking about Taylor Green, but like I want to center the offense around what is our best ability to attack. And as of right now, that's Green's running ability. It's his legs. When he takes off and run, whether it's a quarterback design read or a quarterback scramble. So I want to center my offense around him running the ball. And then after that, I want to build off that and use some play action. Now, they haven't used a ton of play action. I think up to this point, like 21% of his
21,
has been off play action, and it hasn't been great. But he hasn't been great throwing the ball in general. But the one caveat to that is every interception he's thrown has been on a straight drop, has been him dropping back without the help of play action, getting defenders out of position. So I would want to lean a bit more on play action. And you've mentioned this. You just mentioned it, screens. I want to use some more screens, easy throws. I think he has like 8 completions on screens, and 4 of those completions on screens came last week against Auburn. So I think they did try to do that a little bit more last week. But I want to do that even more. And if you're talking about A&M specifically a little bit, A&M's defense is pretty stout. I think they've done a really good job. But one area that quarterbacks have had success has been off play action. If you go back and look at Graham Mertz against Texas A&M, he was 6 of 7 for a $108 and a touchdown off play action. Now, Mertz and Lagway are going back and forth, so he didn't have a ton of a runway. Maybe he should have had more, but he had a lot of really good plays off play action. So at the same time, Green has to hit those open receivers. He has to deliver the throw. But if I'm trying to find ways and a pathway to help him do that, right what you just said, play action, some screens, but getting him comfortable first. I'm running the ball with him. Like, go take that hit. You're 6'6", 220, whatever you are. Like, our best option is you running the ball. Let's center the offense around that. Then maybe that creates some easier throws.
Yeah, and you simplify things by doing that. And someone might argue, well, that's not Petrino, and then it's a lot easier to key in on Arkansas's defense. Listen, I mean, we've seen defenses try to spy him. We've seen the outside containment attempted.
Yep.
It's not worked.
Yep.
Like, it's not worked. And I don't know why you wouldn't favor that type of calling in terms of just trying to find ways to get Green more involved with his legs, with his feet, roll in the pocket, quick screens, things like that. You know,
Yep.
I'd like to see the running backs get more involved in the passing game too. Go a little West Coast, but you know, then now you're talking about kind of really changing your playbook. And Steven, you know as well as I do, they're not going to do that mid-season.
And to the point, like I know we're talking about, you know, these different type of plays to have, but the offense has had success moving the ball. It's just a consistency, right? So it's almost like I'm sure Petrino's like, yo, Green, just make the throw, you know, like just hit the open receiver, or like, hey, don't stare your guy. So maybe someone mentioned in the chat earlier, like, hey, Green just needs to develop. Maybe he does just need to develop. And you've talked about, you know, you need time to learn Petrino's offense and get better. Maybe that is the key, but in the middle of the season, time's not your friend. And you got A&M and you got Tennessee and you got all these big schools coming up, or like if you don't, time's not on your side. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe you try these little sprinkles, more play action, more screens, more running, but also, you know, you want to develop him in Petrino's offense too. But Petrino's done a great job marrying his offense to quarterbacks in the past. So I'm sure it's him trying to find a way to get him going too, you know.
Well, it's exactly what he did with Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
At Louisville. And they thought that wouldn't work because Lamar was a running quarterback, and most of Petrino's great quarterbacks have been stationary, you know, guys like Ryan Mallett and Tyler Wilson. And, you know, he actually actively recruited Brandon Allen, and Brandon Allen was not known as a runner at Fayetteville High. I watched him play, him and his brother play quite a bit at Fayetteville. So that was, I can remember the rhetoric then was this guy, you know, at Louisville, they don't know what they have. And of course, as him being a former Razorback head coach, you're keeping up with Petrino and what's going on at Louisville with his second stint. I remember that being some of the rhetoric. And what happened? A Heisman. And not saying that's Lamar, or I'm not saying that that's Green's case, but he will, I think he will, if he figures out that this is just not working at all, I think he will tailor the offense even more so. And I think he already has. I think he has tried to hold up a mirror to Green and then, you know, reflect that on the offense. I think he has done that because he has put up some pretty damn good numbers. But since those 6 quarters to start the season, the first 4 against UAPB and then the next 2 against Oklahoma State, since then, the offense has been somewhat contained. So I say contained, and I don't mean that it's not quite that dramatic, but they haven't been as successful as they were those first 6 quarters. And of course, you know, UAPB's UAPB, but so you don't. I'm not subscribing to the idea that there's going to be a quarterback battle anytime soon. I have watched Malachi, and I watched. Of course, they closed off practice to the media throughout the season. Malachi is he's got a very quick release. He's not afraid to throw into tight coverage. His ball placement, I would say, looking back at it now, it might be a little bit better. Unfortunately, we just have such a larger sample size of Green.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to pick him apart when we've only seen Malachi throw the ball 10 times against a lesser opponent. Yeah, he threw 80%. He was 8 of 10. Go back and watch those throws. They were good throws. But this has been his guy. I say his, I'm sorry, Petrino. This has been Petrino's guy talking about Green since the start. So I think it's very and another reason this has been one of my most frequently asked questions in my DMs, in group chats, people calling me, Ty, when do we see Malachi? When's it going to happen? So that's one of the reasons why I was going to bring you on anyways, and we were going to talk about this.
And you're still sitting here 3-1. You know what I mean? Like if you told every Arkansas fan, hey, we're going to be 3-1, they would have been like, okay, great. So we win our first 3 games and lose to Auburn. You know, that's probably what you would be thinking. Because you thought Auburn is going to be better than they are this season, at least going in. So I think you're happy going through. Like, I think you should be 4-0, and this A&M team, like, this is a extremely winnable game. Like, I think A&M's like a 3-point favorite right now. It's pretty coin flippy to me. If Green doesn't turn the ball over, like, and you just keep A&M in front of you and you hold the field goals, like, and you can shut down the run game, man, like, I think this favors Arkansas for the matchup if Green doesn't turn the ball over. That's the only caveat I have. So
play mistake-free football.
Exactly. I really think if even if he doesn't have these big flash plays like he's had every game so far, but he doesn't turn the ball over, I still think the way the game can play out is in Arkansas's favor. At the same time, like, A&M's got some really, really good talented ball players, so I don't want to discredit them in any way. But, like, just looking at the quarterbacks, like, the quarterbacks don't scare you. If you can shut down the run game, like, hey, quarterback, beat me. I'm dropping 7 or 8 guys usually anyways, right, for Arkansas's defense.
Yeah.
So
the only concern that I would have, the secondary, especially as banged up as they've been. We don't know. We're still waiting on whether or not they're going to get guys like Hudson Clark, Miguel Mitchell, Jalen Braxton. Those are guys that are out. They are out, by the way. I'm sorry, they're not out. My bad. I'm looking at Auburn's injury report. Let me pull this back up. Jalen Braxton's been upgraded to questionable. Hudson Clark, questionable. Let's see. There's one other. Okay, so yeah, those are it right now in the secondary. So you got those two, but those are key pieces. Jalen Braxton is a potential. I think by the time he leaves here, he'll be first or second team All SEC. Hudson Clark, he's the verbal commander in the back end of that defense, back into that secondary. Not having him, so and they have given up some passing yards. I think I want to say they're back in the 80s right now in total passing yards allowed. It's not a good number, but if you get back at least just one of those two guys, especially Braxton, and I would side with people who would say Braxton, although, again, Hudson Clark cannot be overvalued when you talk about the communication aspect. He is a fifth-year senior after all, second year in this defense. But you cannot overstate the importance of getting at least one of these two guys back, if not both, and that would be big. But, yeah, I'm with you. They don't give up a lot of there's not a lot of break with this secondary.
Yeah.
They had one broken play against Auburn in the secondary. Oklahoma State was a little bit different scenario in the second half. But for the most part, yeah, they haven't.
Yeah.
It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So I think, again, who plays at quarterback for A&M is a big deal. I was going to answer a question here, and I'm trying to find it. Yeah, I agree. They need to get tight ends more involved. I couldn't agree more with that. How Luke has is
good point.
I don't know how he's not more involved.
Yeah, no, dude. He's a mismatch. Yeah, it's a great point. Whoever mentioned that.
Have you watched, like, he keeps his eyes downfield? Green, it's like Green is not looking for underneath throws.
No,
unless it's Armstrong.
It's almost like it's almost like, Jalen Milroe, Bama's quarterback, is known for his big playability. He hits it a lot. It's almost like that style without as much success as Milroe has had, right? Like I think, I don't know where Green ranks in the SEC, but he's probably on the higher end as far as like explosive pass plays, as far as like completions 20 yards or more downfield. I think he's got like 7 right now. So that's probably going to put him on the higher-ish end in the SEC. But it's like, those don't continue drives. Those are the big plays that you want, but the plays that continue those drives are those like 8 to 15 yard type throws. Like you're reading one side of the field, going over to the next progression. So, but you're right. It's like he just will dial into one read, which I think is just part of his development. Like, if that guy's not there, we got to progress to your second and third read, or just take care of the football.
And you see, if you watch Luke Has or Ty Washington when he's healthy, these guys they're floating around underneath. Yep. They're there. I mean, not always. And I know defenses know that he's not a mystery. Like, they know this dude is.
Is he healthy?
Legit.
Is Luke Has healthy?
He is healthy. I don't think he showed up on the injury report. I know. Let me see here.
I just remember he tweaked something against Oklahoma State. I don't know if that's lingering. Like, I don't know.
It was his back against. I think it was Oklahoma State. It was his back.
Okay.
Like, you could read his lips when he was on the sidelines. He was kind of doing this thing where he's straightening himself out, and I swear I saw his lips move. It looked like he said, "My back." but he's not. He doesn't show up this week on the injury report. Ty Washington is questionable, and then the guy whose name I cannot pronounce, the tight end, Andreas Paskey. He's the blocking tight end for them, who can catch the ball, by the way, but he's a blocking tight end, so he is good to go this week.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he's not even on as questionable or probable. I mean, he is good to go. So they got to get him more involved.
I agree. I think it's a great point.
Well, this will be the last call. If anyone wants to call in, we'll give you a couple minutes here. Again, shout out to Patreon supporters who help keep this thing afloat. I mean that. You guys have been awesome. We added a new Patreon supporter yesterday, a legendary status member. Shout out to Alex, who just joined.
Nice. Good job, Alex.
That's awesome, Alex.
No, that's cool.
He goes by Arkansas something in our Discord.
Cool.
Hold on. I don't want to leave him hanging. Arkansas Takes is his name in Discord. So shout out to him. He joined the legendary status. That is cool.
I like it.
So if anyone wants to call in. So did you say you're leaning towards Arkansas to win this?
I'm not betting this game. Like, my two bets in Arkansas this year have been 0-2. Their games have been drunk, like just absolutely insane. I took plus 7.5 against Oklahoma State, and I took the over last week against Auburn, and so I'm done doing that. But anytime I can root against Texas A&M, I'm always like, sign me up. Sorry, Aggie fans. We have some decent Aggies that follow QB Spotlight, but when you grow up in Texas, unless you're an Aggie, you just are growing up to root against the Aggies. I am putting out a breakdown over A&M's quarterback, though, later on today. If any Arkansas fans want to dive into that and learn more about A&M's quarterback situation and kind of what Arkansas's defense can do to stop that. So that is something we got coming up, and we've talked about today on the show. So
I have to disagree with this, Curtis. Bobby is not teaching him to just throw the ball deep. No coordinator worth their salt is telling their quarterback throw deep or don't throw it all or just run it. That's not. I got to disagree with that, and I didn't see that in practice. They are certainly teaching them to look for the check downs.
No.
I don't know about this part. I don't know where you heard that. I don't know if there's another podcast out there saying that, but that is not what's being taught to Green. He wants him to see the whole field. In fact, if you look at Tyler Wilson, Ryan Mallett, even Casey Dick, go all the way back when Petrino was here. Oh, we have a caller. Hang on. We'll get to it in a second. Those guys targeted on average 6 to 8 different receivers per game.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's either Armstrong or bust for Green, and that's not a winning combination. Thank God for Andrew Armstrong, though. That dude's been a stud. What's up, July? You just got 15K in Discord. July? You got to speak to get the XP, my man. You might be muted.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, sweet. I can hear you guys now. You guys might have talked about this, and I might have missed it. I had to go into Walmart real quick. How much do you think this game can make or break Talon, at least as far as this season goes? I know we expect to run the ball a lot, but if we go out there and do throw some passes and he's just not hitting the mark, do you think this could break the season for him?
Good question.
When you consider who they play.
Yeah, and depends how bad it is, right? If he's missing the mark and he's 48% completion percentage and 2 picks, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I definitely think it's an important game for Taylor Green, especially even though you won last week, you had some big plays, but like now there's just some chatter about a potential quarterback change, at least in the fan base, and he struggled last week, even though they won. From a confidence standpoint, I think this is a big game for Taylor Green to have no turnovers and just play crisp football.
Well, this is the first domino it's not the first. I'm sorry. Auburn was a domino, although they're not as good as we thought they were or were going to be. Mm-hmm. If he didn't have exactly a great game passing, he graded out poorly against Auburn, and he does that again this week. And now you've got who coming into town on October 5th? Maybe the hottest team in college football, depending on who you ask. Colin Cowherd picked these guys to win the national title, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers, who defensively, I mean, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah, it is.
So if you have a bad game here, you worry about the confidence level going into Tennessee, and then you've got – I don't know what to make of LSU, Steven. I'd have to refer to you on that. I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention. But you don't really get a break because you do get a bye week after Tennessee. But then you've got LSU. You're on the road against Mississippi State. I mean, it doesn't get any easier outside of Mississippi State.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And so that's I think that's where this quarterback competition debate is coming from. Like, it doesn't get any easier.
This is a big game. I think the caller's absolutely right. Like, against Tennessee, are you going to be probably double-digit underdogs, right? Wouldn't you guess? You're probably double-digit underdogs against LSU. Yeah, against LSU, I would guess. Even though LSU's defense isn't great, I would guess you're at least a touchdown-plus underdog. Mississippi State, you're going to be favored. But, like, as far as being like, this would be the lowest point total of the lowest spread of the year besides Mississippi State and is it Louisiana Tech that y'all be underdogs in. It's like a 3. Every other team you play, it's going to be at least a touchdown plus underdog. I would think so. This is a game I think you got to like find a way to, if you can find a way to win and go 4 and be 4-1, you got some good momentum. You got some positivity in the program, and you're in a better start than what most people predicted for you. And you haven't played great football and you're still 4-1. Like, that's huge. You know, like,
I kind of have a related question. It's not about quarterbacks. It's about a certain wide receiver that was born with concrete for hands. The practice warrior. Do you think that they're going to get enough of it at one point? Because, I mean, I haven't seen anything worth keeping him out there. And I hate to be like that towards a player, you know, a kid younger than me. But it's just the fact of the matter is he's kind of sucked.
Yeah, so Broden, you're talking about Tyrone Broden. God, he looks so good in spring and fall camp. I mean, he just looks so good. He's blowing by some of the speediest corners and safeties. He was a mismatch all through spring and fall camp. He was durable. I don't know that he missed a lot of time to injuries. Maybe, I think he set out one of the scrimmages. I can't recall. He looked great, and he looked even better than he did last year. And of course, last year he dealt with injuries. And I had Mason Choate from Rivals from Hogbeat on here a little while back, and I thought Tyrone Broden was going to put up great numbers. And right now he's the second most targeted receiver on this roster, and he doesn't have a damn thing to show for it. And he's dropping balls left and right. And someone pointed out earlier the offensive line not helping Green either. That's a good point. Yep. It's also the snaps from the center, and it's also drops by mostly Broden.
Yep.
Even though the PFF numbers don't show that, anybody with eyeballs, if you go back and watch Broden, he's dropping these balls.
Yep.
And it's just I don't know. I do think eventually they're gonna have to make a switch.
That's a great. Those are great points. It's not just the quarterback. Yeah, he struggled and gets all the blame, but you're right. Like, offensive line, receivers, it's a team effort. You know.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I appreciate that, Brandon. Brandon says nobody does it like you, Ty. Thank you for what you do and the time you spend doing it all. Who pig? I know everybody is 50-50 on Taylor and Green. I think he has what it takes to be great. Just needs to chill, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, like you said earlier, Steven, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is a guy. He's a double-edged sword, man. I mean, he could cut defenses in half. His third down play has been incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about that on Monday. How many plays on 3rd and long you converted because of Green? And yeah, Jaquindon Jackson's been a big part of that. Andrew Armstrong getting open on 3rd down has been a part of that, but Green's vision on 3rd down. I wish we had that on every down, Steven.
I know. That's the home run hitter approach, right? You strike out, strike out, strike out, strike out.
You're exactly right.
They do just enough. You're like, damn. You're like, wow. Okay, let's see if there's something there. You know, like so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curtis Johnson says there's an insider film on Arkansas offseason, and that's all Bobby was teaching him how to hit the deep route. I think TG just trying to hit the deep route too much. He never looks for the dump off. Yeah, no, again, Petrino is telling him if there's something deep, yeah, you're going to take it. That's what Petrino's offenses have done. They're explosive. They can throw the ball deep. We know Mallett was able to do it. We know Wilson, who didn't have the arm talent as Mallett, he could do it. Green's got some strength in that arm, and he could throw on the run. But that's not all he wants him to see the whole field, right? And he's not. And it's kind of like what you just said there, Curtis. He's like what Steven pointed out, he's not looking off his corners or secondary. He's not looking them off. His eyes are they're the tell, right? For the secondary. That's how they're going to read a quarterback. They're going to read his eyes. Safeties, linebackers, and if you notice his picks, they look pretty damn easy because they are easy.
Yep.
All three of them have come from – it's 3 picks, right? Or is it 4? I think it's 3.
I think it's he threw 2 against Auburn. I can't remember.
They're all – I'm pretty sure PFF says all those picks were out of a clean pocket.
They were is a straight drop back pass.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of work there to be done. I've been both critical, and I know, again – you and I have a mutual friend who just swears up and down he is what he was at Boise State, and I think he's correct.
He's right. You live with it, but it's a roller coaster. Yeah,
it is.
It's a roller coaster.
He can hit someone wide open or close counter on 3rd and long. He can make things happen. He's capable of these big plays. And then he'll turn the ball over, or he'll miss a running back wide open on a wheel route, or he'll throw a pick right over the middle off double slants.
Yep.
Suppose Green could improve on the passing game, the running game, the running lane would be so much better for him. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
100%. Yep.
You're going to back those linebackers off. You're going to get people spread out of the box.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It open things up big time.
Yeah. That'd be the Lamar Jackson effect if he can.
Oh man!
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
Would be great. He's just got to get the Petrino offense. The reputation it's always had has been that it's 2 years. It's 2 years minimum, and I don't think that's changed. Just because you're a quarterback that has experience at a school like Boise State, when it comes to operating the Petrino offense, it's 2 years to get it down.
Yep.
It's just, you look at Ryan Mallett's first year. Now, I guess the exception would be Tyler Wilson, but Wilson got some key snaps when Ryan Mallett got hurt against Auburn. And I always thought Wilson was a very cerebral quarterback. There was one other thing. Y'all, hey, now let's lay off Curtis. Let's just lay off Curtis. Some of you guys are going after him. I think Curtis has a good point. Let's see. What is this? It would do people good to go and check out how eerily close to how he performed there mimics what's happening here. Wait, what do you mean?
Maybe talking about Taylor Green at Boise State.
Boise State.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, his numbers are pretty. I think they're pretty close.
And I remember Boise State fans commenting on some Taylor Green stuff, saying like, "Hey, this is exactly what you're going to get. We told y'all this is what was going to happen." So
I'm pretty sure they're like exactly the same, and that's another reason why I think it's going to take a second year to get this straightened out. So we'll see if that happens. Ty, what are the chances Taylor comes back next year, assuming we retain the coaching staff? Yeah, there's so many variables in that equation. I don't know. I have no idea. And I don't want to give away, like, I'm going to talk about this tonight on the second live show, but this game is huge. And I said that about the Auburn game because it was big. Guess what? You're 1-0 in conference play. Yep. That's the first positive domino to fall for Arkansas. Now you need this next one to fall. And there's several reasons for that. Like we already stated, it doesn't get easier for Arkansas. But you've got a lot better shot at Taylor coming back if this works in a way that Pittman doesn't get fired. Who knows what happens? Maybe the people who are chirping about Odom he's going to be the next guy. They've already, like, Little Rock has already made plans and they're all on board and so on and so forth. Not sure that I buy all that, but the thing that's been circled around, I've had 2 different people DM me this saying that they trust their sources, and they're saying that it's already pretty much feels like a foregone conclusion to them that Odom would come in, he would keep the staff intact, which I don't buy. I think he would bring in his defensive staff, and then he would retain Bobby Petrino. We know that he did hire Bobby at UNLV, and of course Bobby would move on to A&M shortly after. So I don't know. It's a lot of variables. So anyways, all right. Cole Coatney, and we'll end with this. KJ Jackson, second best quarterback on the roster. No, it's Malachi. The things that stood out to me with KJ Jackson, holds on to the ball, confused, saw Petrino yell at him multiple times for not snapping the ball quick enough. I don't think he has a firm grasp on the offense. No, in fact, I think it's Green, Malachi, and then a very distant KJ Jackson at third. That's at least since the last time I saw him, which has been weeks ago. Who knows if anything's changed? Not much typically does change when you're talking about the back end of your depth throughout a season. It's rare that you hear that the number 4 guy or number 3 guy is now the backup. Like, it's rare that you hear that, at least since Sam's been at Arkansas, that I can think of off the top of my head. It feels like whoever number 2 is number 2, and that's just all there is to it. I think the same thing is true here. I think Malachi is very easily, he's QB2. Malachi is anyways. All right. Hey, Steven, I appreciate you, man. Taking a little time out of your morning to stop by and talk to us.
Yeah, dude. Always a blast, man. I love coming on whenever.
You guys go check him out. QB Spotlight here on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter. He does breakdowns of Arkansas and other schools as well, but he does a great job. Steven, I'm sure I'll have you again on shortly.
Yeah, man. Let's do it, dude. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, man.
All right, brother.
We still have a little ways to go today. I'm gonna, get prepped, get finished prepping up for the second live show, which will be tonight. We're gonna talk about A&M. We're gonna kind of straighten some things out. But yeah, we got much to talk about. But this game against A&M is big for so many different reasons. I do think A&M is better than Auburn. I don't know how much better, but I do think they're better than Auburn. They have more talent on their roster than Auburn. I think they're better coached. I have not been impressed with Freeze at all this year or last year. Last year, you kind of gave him, it's a new beginning and everything. But this year, they look worse and worse. And I don't know if Auburn, with that statement that he said about beating Arkansas 9 times out of 10, that's the most asinine, crazy ass thing. Like, there was never a moment where anyone thought this is Auburn's game to lose. How can you say we would win the next 9 out of 10? That's just crazy. That's delusional thinking is what that is. But you know what? When you're already starting to feel the heat a little bit, you say crazy shit. I think that's exactly what Freeze is doing. It's kind of crazy to think about it. If they miss a bowl game, he really is going to be on the hot seat next year. He will be. At a place like Auburn, yeah, he'll be on the hot seat. Talon has to keep it to 1 pick this game, LOL. Well, I mean, he's only thrown. Let me double check this. I'm pretty sure it's 3. If it's not 3, then it's 4. But that's still, then that would be 1 per game, right? Okay, so it is 4. It's 4 picks. Now I think 2 of those were hit at the line of scrimmage. They were deflected at the line of scrimmage. And then the other 2 were just bad throws, or maybe it's 3 and then 1 was deflected. But that's still just 1 a game. But he is putting the ball on the ground too much. He is turning it over. That's part of that double-edged sword thing that I was talking about and that Steven was alluding to. You kind of get what you get with him, but it's like when you do get something good, it can be huge. It's very difficult to stop Talon Green. It's more like Talon Green stops himself. He's missing throws. And yeah, we've harped on this so much about, how often this team gets in their own way. And that's true. And that includes the offensive line. That includes the snaps from the center, drop balls by the receivers. but that also includes Green missing some pretty easy throws. He's got to get better on those checkdowns. He's got to get better on those first level throws. He's got to see them. He's not seeing the whole field. And I think that speaks to him, to the game not, I don't want to say slowed down enough for him in the offense, but maybe that is part of the case. It's not in this offense. It's not really, the game hasn't slowed down for him enough. And that's why he's not seeing these check down throws. He's not looking for them. And it's killing the tight ends. It's killing them. They should have far greater numbers. Seen them open several times. Not all the time. Talon, this is a good point too right here. Cole Coatney says, Talon got to try not to kill our receivers. I wish Steven was here for that comment. Absolutely. Paul Feinbaum said boosters at Auburn already trying to get rid of Freeze. They don't like him. I've heard that too. I talked to an Auburn insider down there. I say insider. He's just kind of he's pretty good with his information when it comes out of the state of Alabama, whether it's recruiting, whether it's Alabama football or Auburn football. And he's said the same in a DM that there's already people down there not happy. So it's Auburn. They believe that if they're not considered a top 4 school in the SEC, then your job is on the line. And maybe that should be the case for them. You're right there in the recruiting capital of the country, or one of them, between southeast part of the country, and of course you've got Texas, and you get into California, Ohio when you go north. But yeah, you're in the mecca of recruiting. You probably should be doing a better job if you're an SEC school. So, all right. True Soldier says 4 picks. Yeah, we got it straightened out. It is 4 picks. I thought it was 3, but it is 4. And I know for a fact one of those was just off a deflection, but it's still a pick on the quarterback. I mean, that's just how it is. Shout out to the sponsors. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, hundreds of 5-star reviews. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Insurance Max, offering business, personal, life and health insurance, retirement. They shop the best rates for you. Why not? Click the link, see what they can do for you. Again, they cover all 4 corners of Arkansas. So go check them out. Yeah, I appreciate the tags in Discord. Consider joining Patreon. It helps this channel out a lot. I appreciate all the kind words. I'm glad that you guys dig what I'm doing here. I really do. But if you want to go an extra step, if you want to really help the channel out, maybe consider joining Patreon. We're coming up against it. We are giving away cards. We've already talked about those cards. I've shared them in Discord. There is a Traylon Burks autographed card in the mix for legendary status members. We've got a DJ Williams autographed card, Chris Gregg autographed card. That's for legendary status members. That's these 3 cards. If I can hold them up. That's for the month of September right there. These are all autographed former Arkansas player cards. For the $8 folks, you get a shot at a foil Ryan Mallett. And then for the $4 folks, you get a shot at a legendary quarterback, Lloyd Phillips. So those are the cards that are available for the month of September. You got to be Patreon. You got to be legendary status for the autographs. And that, again, is for the month of September. Wilson balled out against Auburn. He did, didn't he, man? I'll never forget that. When he came into the game, I thought, we're in trouble. Because he was kind of one of those guys you didn't hear great things about in practice. You know, you weren't really blown away by him, by what the media was saying at the time. Not that they were wrong. There were some that were like, no, Wilson's got an arm. He can make it happen. And he came out against Auburn and shredded that defense. We knew what we were in for that next year after Mallett moved on. We felt pretty damn good about Tyler Wilson. And then you saw what happened in 2011. I love that. Where do you get these, what seem to be unlimited supply of cards? I have about 3 people I will say there's just folks that I know. Someone mails me stuff. Now I got to obviously send him a Cash App. I got to pay him, but it gives me a pretty good deal. There's local card stores that I hit up, but a lot lately has been just, and then there's just been people reaching out trying to send me stuff. We had, I'll show you guys this card really quick. We've had former players' dads, parents send me stuff. For example, Patrick Wicklander's dad sent me a whole bunch of Wicklander cards. Good guy, that Patrick Wicklander. By the way, I do have a Kevin Kopps card. I'm going to wait to give away. It's not autographed. I'm hoping to get it autographed, but there's Kevin Kopps. I'm going to give that away when baseball season starts. You just got to know people. Every once in a while, there's if you go to the NWA mall, there's a guy that runs a booth there. Now, I think he's a little overpriced, but that's fine. He only takes cash. He's had some cards. I paid quite a bit of money for some Traylon Burks cards that were autographed from him. I think I got an Alex Collins autograph from him. You just got to look around. You got to be diligent. I've spent a lot of money on these cards, no doubt. I'm not sure that I'm profiting much off these cards. Some of them are really cheap. Some of these autograph cards are like, you're surprised at how cheap some of them are. And then there's some that are just because their autographs are so hard to get a hold of. These shops, they know what they're charging. These people that reach out to me, they know what they're charging. So you just got to be diligent, and I try to, no one has ever asked, no legendary status member has ever reached out to me and been like, hey, I'm not getting the value in my legendary status. No one's ever done that. No Patreon supporter has ever done that. So my thinking was I want to pay back somehow, some way. I want to try and give you guys something that, will not only help grow Patreon, but also kind of a nod to you guys, a thank you. So I started doing the cards. Of course, we do the XP stuff in Discord. We've done other giveaways. That's just kind of what the Patreon's all about, man. And then not only that, there's if you're a Patreon member in Discord, you have access to the portal target page, which is going to be big this year. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be interesting. The portal this year, for so many different reasons, is going to be big because of whatever happens with Sam, whether he stays or goes. This is going to be big. So we have the portal target page that includes some of their analytics, some of their numbers, their stats, portal commit page. We've got tie videos that get posted there where I can do whatever I want. I'm not held back by YouTube restrictions. I could post damn near whatever I want. It's pretty great. So I post videos in the tie video page for Patreon supporters. And then the thing that's been killing it for Patreon supporters has been the Enemy Insider page. Now, I might make this one public on Friday. I might let everybody see it just to give some of those that don't pay kind of a taste of what Patreon supporters are getting. These start on Sunday. That's when I start posting the stats and some of the deep dive analytics side by side between Arkansas and whoever their next opponent is. But then, and we also do a comparison as far as talent. Like A&M right now has the 7th best roster in terms of talent, according to 247. Arkansas's at 26th. Not sure how stable those numbers really are. And then we also provide you with that roster of their top players. But that's not anything. I'm sorry. It's not that it's not anything, but it's the real. I think the real thing that people have really appreciated have been the write-ups that are at the very bottom of every matchup, and it's where I just go into to what I'm seeing, what I know to be true, and just whatever's happening and the numbers. It's all there at the bottom of whoever Arkansas is playing. So obviously this week that's A&M. If you scroll to the bottom, you get I've changed names on this about 15 times, but I call it the write-up. I dive into the Aggie offense, the defense. I give you a final takeaway. And then at the bottom, I give you my verdict, which will be updated tonight after the live show when I give you my prediction on who I think wins. So there's all kinds of reasons to join Patreon. You're getting a little bit out of it, I think, for sure. For $4 a month, man. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal and a shot at winning a card, a former Arkansas player card. So anyways, all right. I think that's really it, man. I do appreciate all your support. I was told, and I wanted to end on this. Someone said something that was really, really classy in my comment section. I think this was a couple of live shows ago. And I had talked about someone who had left behind kind of a negative comment. As I've told you guys before, I run this more. It's more like a live radio show. It's not a let's just get to the point, bing bang boom live show. That's not what this is. It's a I interact with chat. We do these call-ins. I'm very active with with Tusk Talk viewers. Discord, we do lives there, right? But when it comes to these shows, these live shows, I approach it like a radio show, except I'm interactive with you guys in chat, and I kind of talk about stuff that maybe doesn't exactly pertain to Razorback information. Anyways, someone commented about it. I've had those comments, and to be honest with you, I always clap back because I find what they say pretty funny. But someone said, for something along the lines of, every inch you give the negative people, you're not praising the people that actually give you good comments or compliments and that actively support your show and what you do. And I do appreciate that. And I try not to focus really at all other than me clapping back to some of the negative comments. Those are going to happen, man. I've been doing this for a while. I've got really thick skin. I love clapping back. I like mouthing off back to these people. I like dragging them here on the live shows and in Discord because it is pretty fun for me. But I think that commenter had a really good point. When I point those people out, I'm not giving enough energy to the right people, who are people like you that support the live show, who support everything that I do, whether you're a Patreon supporter or not. So I wanted to say I appreciate you. If you're still here, if you're still listening to this, I do appreciate you. Whether you've given a dime to this show or nothing at all but your eyeballs and your ears, thank you. I greatly appreciate that. We may not always agree on stuff when it comes to the Razorbacks. There's going to be a time when I piss you off with a take that I have, and you may turn me off for 6 months, but then maybe you come back and listen. I appreciate that you were ever here to begin with. It's because of you guys that I'm even here at all. Otherwise, I would probably be working in a tire shop. Nothing wrong with that. I would do it right now if I had to. I'd be pushing carts. Did that for 4 years for Sam's Club, working a cash register. So it is because of you guys, the people who watch, listen, support, that I'm able to do this, that I'm able to bring on sponsors, that I'm able to have Patreon, that I'm able to have a very active Discord. So thank you. I don't do that enough. I don't thank you enough. And I really do appreciate you. I appreciate you spreading the word, sharing the content. I don't know how many times I get people who'll DM me or they'll call into the show and talk about how their family watches the show. I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate you. So, yeah, you're going to always have negative asshole commenters. And that's part of it. I get it, but I love having fun with those people too. But I do need to give most of my energy to you guys who are here to support the show and enjoy the content. So, all right. I appreciate the no ads while listening to the show. Okay. You're welcome. I guess if that's why you're here, then by God, I appreciate you nonetheless. Tyson Crisco's to get all the cards. You're right. There you go. Broden, hot take. Broden won't stay. Too inconsistent. Too big of a me to take that risk. I say Tesla plays a significant amount. We'll see what happens. We'll see how many targets Broden gets, but we'll talk about that tonight. 6 p.m. You guys be here. We'll it won't be a call-in show, but it'll still be fun because we're going to talk A&M. I'm going to give you my prediction whether I think Arkansas wins or loses this game. I'm excited for it. I'll see you guys at 6 p.m. Again, shout out to sponsors and Patreon supporters and viewers like you who make this all possible. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you later tonight.